So, Corinne was 6 years old in 2006, and she started to develop a limp just sort of overnight. We weren't sure what was going on with that, and so we let it go for a little while, took her in to see a few doctors, and they concluded that she had a bumped femoral nerve in her right quad, and we should just let it heal on its own, that it would just sort of rectify itself. And Deb, I think, kind of had that mother's sixth sense that we should keep poking around a little bit, and we took her up to one of the children's hospitals here in Minneapolis, and they did an MRI and found a tumor in her right pelvic area, and it was diagnosed as Ewing sarcoma, and so that has led us down a path that we didn't really expect, but God has been faithful throughout that path and that journey. Her treatment was essentially 4 months of chemo to shrink the tumor, and then the plan was to have a surgery to resect it. And based on the scans, we weren't quite sure if the tumor was wrapped around the femoral nerve or whether the femoral nerve was laying on top of the tumor. But we consulted with a lot of folks here in the Twin Cities. We consulted with some folks down in Houston, I think out in Washington, in the Seattle area, and certainly down at Mayo. And we just felt most comfortable going with the game plan that they had devised at Mayo.
Probably one of the scariest times in the whole process was when it came time to do surgery for Corinne. We talked to we're blessed to have a lot of major hospitals in the area, and we contacted and visited all of those, and we visited, or we spoke with some other national hospitals. And one of the scariest times in this process was that time when we were talking about who would do the surgery to take out the tumor, because we just assumed that every surgeon had the same idea about how to take out that tumor, but they didn't. There's a fairly broad spectrum of understanding of what was the best method and way to take it out and how much to take out. And so we felt like we were in a position where we had to make some decisions on who was going to do the surgery, and felt a little bit of anxiety on trying to make the right choice. And so we felt very comfortable choosing Mayo after talking with so many different institutions, and we're glad that we did. But we were surprised at how many different opinions there were.
Well, you come to realize that medicine is much more of an art than a science in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of ways to do it. So they needed to do that, and
we were so happy that we were at Mayo, because Mayo was one of the few places that had a neurosurgeon ready and waiting to try to do as much repair as possible. And most places that we interviewed about the surgery didn't think they would need a nerve graft and hadn't made plans to have a neurosurgeon ready. But there was a team of over a dozen surgeons that worked on Corinne, which was many more than that would have been working on Corinne at another institution. And then they did a rare kind of nerve graft on her femoral nerve, and we really didn't know what kind of recovery she'd have, because it was so rare and the nerve had such a long way to go to work its way back through to her thigh muscle, her quadricep. And she's had amazing success in doing all the things that she wants to do. So what kinds of things do you do, Corinne?
I do softball and hockey, and sometimes on practice soccer.
And you cause a lot of trouble in the house.
So
I think one of the things that thinking back on that time period, we were told by Dr. Arnn down at Mayo that you get one good shot at Ewing's, and you want to make sure you get it all. And so that I think really weighed heavily on us as we decided, well, do we go with a doctor who says, no, we're going to cut the nerve top and bottom, we're going to radiate afterwards, there's going to be nothing left to save on the one end, or do we go with somebody who says, well, I think I can kind of cut around the nerve and get the tumor out and save the nerve at the other end. And we, as I said, landed at Mayo, and there was kind of an in-between that, I think there was some flexibility there that we didn't perceive some other places. They were going to take as much as they needed to get this, and that was the overall objective. But they were willing to explore some options that might give her some more functionality in her leg afterwards. And we just felt like that was beneficial, recognizing again that if they needed to take everything, they would take it.
And when your child is diagnosed with cancer, it's a scary time. And to be at Mayo, where they had a wealth of experience with this kind of cancer, which is extremely rare, there was a comfort there in their experience and their expertise, and like Mike said, their willingness to go above and beyond to save as much function as possible for Corinne. And a lot of institutions were rightly focused on getting the tumor out well, but not going the extra distance to preserve functionality right up front. And this was a rare procedure, a rare nerve graft, and it was extremely successful, and we're very happy with the decision to go with Mayo. And we go back to Mayo every 6 months now for scans, and we just love seeing the doctors that we've come to know so well.
Our people.
Our people. Yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, so